back to the Book Vandal Shop. This is going to be the quick flip through of this journal with all the details, and it'll be a really quick flip through, and we won't be reading any of the letters or journal entries. So if you have already watched the other video where we go through it in depth and we read everything, thanks for joining me in that flip through. If you haven't seen that one and you love a good story, might pop over there and watch that flip through. So like I said, there's two flip throughs, a quick one like this one, and then there's the long one. And the long one you might want to grab a cup of coffee for, because it is nearly an hour long. So there is a closure for this journal that you can take on and off, and on it I have a little bottle of what could be construed as his elixir, and there's a little skull and crossbones and some keys, and then I just threw these on there for some color because they sort of looked kind of sciencey. So that can clip right on there and take that off. This is a drawer. We're going to go through the drawer at the end. This is a hardcover journal. Measures approximately 8 inches by 10. And the spine is about 4.5 inches thick. So it is a big one. So if that gives you any idea, that's my index finger and thumb there. So it is a big thing. I would think this is kind of on the level of being a tome, or the size of a tome. It is a hardcover, embossed, and Jekyll's name here is on the front. Oh, I didn't even tell you that. This is Dr. Jekyll's journal. So in this journal, he transforms from Jekyll to Hyde by the end. So we get to watch his transformation in that. Real quick, I used tons of different people's digitals and different brand names of materials in here. And to keep this rather short, I'm not going to mention what belonged to who and so on. I'll just put all that in the description box below. And I will up front say that I was inspired by Nick the Booksmith to create a Dr. Jekyll journal. And I will make sure that I link her video for her flip through below. She did it, I don't know, a couple of years ago maybe. It was an awesome journal, and it really inspired me to do one as well. So thank you, Nick, for the inspiration there. Okay, in the front here, I created a series of pockets that were kind of specialized for what they were going to hold. This one is a small pocket to hold a picture of who I decided was Dr. Jekyll. There's a Latin inscription here that basically says that in every bit of genius, there's a mixture or a tincture of madness. So I put in a photo of what I had decided was Jekyll's house, and in the back was his laboratory. So these are not real cabinet cards. I created these. I found the images. I think he was on Graphics Fairy website maybe. Anyway, but I found the images and I put them on chipboard and aged them. So they actually look like real cabinet cards. So, oh, I'm putting the wrong photo in the wrong slot. See, they are very specific. And then we have a little list of different chemicals that he might have had in his laboratory, or what he might have used for his mix or elixir. So we have a key that fits, like I said, very specialized little pockets. So it's a little key pocket there. Okay, and then back here is an envelope with a letter in it, and I'm not going to read the letter, but it basically tells you what to do with his journal in the event of his death. And I know I said I wasn't going to tell you where everything came from, but this, look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? That is ego-dyed paper that Lisa did. And this is actually digital scans of it. She sent me the digital scans of a batch of ego-dyed paper that she did, and I printed it out on coffee-dyed paper, and it came out so gorgeous. So that is what that is there. So we have a little skull and crossbones and a chemist tag. The little button here is a 31, you know, Halloween kind of, yeah. There's some more of that paper. Isn't that neat? I loved it. So, if you're into, you know, eco-dyed paper like that, and you want some of the digital scans, message Lisa and tell her how bad you want her to do a digital on Etsy. I keep trying to talk her into doing that. I said, you need to offer that as a digital kit in your Etsy shop, because they are really awesome. So there's a bunch of science stuff here, experiment cards and book pages. And oops, in this pocket up here, we have some coffee dyed notebook paper. So that's a triple pocket here. Specimen slides, dictionary pages. This opens up over here, and out comes a tag. There's some of that wax paper that she does, that Lisa does. And or it's not a tag, card, excuse me. And there's one up here as well. And I made sure that the dictionary entries were always related to what we were doing. So either they are, you know, scary sounding words like malevolence and malfeasance and malformations, and or they were medical sounding or sciencey sounding, but I tried to make sure the dictionary words fit what we were doing. Okay, let me pull this on over. This thing is a little big, but I don't really want to zoom out. I want you to see the details. Another little list here of ingredients, chemist's label. We have a skull drawing, and then down here we have some scraps of paper that have been attached here for jotting down some notes. And then there's some scientific words here on this dictionary page. So, okay, and bring that back in. Close this up. I may have to zoom us out just a tad, so I don't have to keep moving this book around. There we are. And on the back side here, we have a journaling card and paper, and there's some more of that eco-dyed paper. So isn't that beautiful? So, and that's just the digital scan. This is not the original. This is me printing this out. So tell Lisa below in the comments that we need a digital kit in her Etsy shop for that. So we have some skeletal drawing cards here, notebook paper. We have just a little notepad where I took all the offcuts and put them into a little memo pad. And then here, I have a little button string closure envelope, and inside are some cards. And everything is printed on the back so that nothing is left bright white. You're not going to see any bright white in this journal. Everything is backed and inked and very grungy, vintagey looking. So if you're not familiar with the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you know, you might want to catch up on it. It is a good story. It's not a very long novel. Doesn't take very much time to read. In fact, in the course of putting together this journal, I ended up reading the book a total of 3 times. I listened to it on an audiobook version once, and I watched 2 different Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde movies. And then I have countless hours of research online, researching the Victorian era, what life was like, what science was like during that time period, what crime was like. So I do have a ton of research that went into this. So all of the book pages that are like this that you're going to see came from a digital copy of a book from the 1800s. It's a medical, human body medical book where they go through the whole human body. And in the beginning of the book, they talk more about like the different body systems and the brain and the heart and blood and things like that. And by the end of the book, it really delves into the psyche and the soul and the connection between the heart and the brain and the soul and the psyche, and it gets really deep. So those pages I put towards the end of the journal where we're starting to see Hyde come out. There are some quotes in there that come directly out of the book that Hyde or that Jekyll has said in his story. So there are some quotes in there. Lots of papers. You know, in a lot of my journals, I do a lot of the flip outs and special tucks and things like that. But we really want this journal to be more realistic looking. So it is mostly things that are clipped in. It's not extremely elaborate per se. It is very pretty. This is a digital scan from the Cardiff Times from October of 1858. So I put that in there because, you know, Jekyll might have kept that for a reason. Little specimen tag up here. And then we have a tag here. It has a plant on it, but, you know, maybe some of his ingredients for his potion and elixir came from plant materials, and they probably did. So lots and lots of papers and stuff for you to write on. So you really can use this journal just like it is. So every signature has a journal entry in the beginning that I actually wrote myself. So I did a lot of using an online thesaurus to find words that would have been used during the Victorian time and not during now, you know, not modern English, but Victorian English. So that took some time. So hopefully you enjoy the story as you go through it. And if you're into that kind of thing, the other flip through, I read all of these journal entries. I read all of these letters. It's a fun little journey into Dr. Jekyll's venture from being Jekyll into Hyde. So this is a picture of his friend, Dr. Lanyon. So, and he's mentioned in here. This actually says nullius in verba, which is Latin for take no man's word. It's actually the motto for the Royal Society of London, which is a group of very educated scientific minds, and it's been around since like the 1600s. So that's actually their motto. So I think he might have thought that was important. There's some more chemicals listed there, and these are all real things. Maybe he would have put those in his formulations. This is a camphor, little camphor bottle label, and, you know, we don't know why he might have kept that. Journaling card right on the back. It has lined paper on the back. There's some more of that eco-dyed paper that I have backed and turned this into a tuck spot. Got a neat little label over here. And these images here that are very heavily distressed, those are part of a digital kit from Kelly's Crafts. I'll make sure I put that below. Lots of pages to write on. There are almost 400 pages in this journal. If you count every single side of everything that's in this journal, it adds up to 400 pages or 400 sides. So this is a big book. And like I said, there are lots of places for you to write in it. Another journal entry. More paper, lined notebook paper. I can't remember this set of pages. At the moment, I can't remember where they came from, but I will make sure I put everything in the description box below so that you can find all the digitals that I used. So there's the apothecary cabinet key. And one thing you will notice is that anything that Henry Jekyll or Hyde would have written, so all the journal entries, all the lists, the writing on the key fobs, all of that is all the same script. I did not use it for any other writings. So I made this handwriting script be just Jekyll and Hyde's handwriting only. So any other handwritten things, like the letter that's further back here, is in a different script to keep things realistic. And speaking of realistic, sorry, I'm trying not to take too much time, but I do want to tell you the really fun and interesting things. Hang on, let me tell you about this first. This is a little specimen slide that I made, and that's actually needles from a Western hemlock, and they are real, and they are old. These were in a old tree identification book, and those were pressed inside the book. So I don't know how old they are, but they are not new. And I put them in there because I thought, you know, maybe he might have used Western hemlock stuff. And Western hemlock is found in England as well. So here's where those book pages are starting to turn from being more on the physical to the spiritual. This is the Incarnate Psychology. And yeah, it really discusses deceitfulness and wickedness and yeah. Oh, I was going to tell you something. What was I going to tell you? Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. So the handwriting on the journal entries, I did find a font online it is an actual handwriting font from the Victorian era where apparently people create fonts. I didn't even know that was a thing, but they create fonts. And well, I guess they take like old documents and scan them in, and then break the letters apart to create a usable font for computers. And so that is an actual person's handwriting from the Victorian time period. So somebody created that font, and so I think that's kind of neat that it's actual, real, legitimate handwriting from that time period that actually belonged to somebody that lived in that time period. So I decided it would make a nice script for Jekyll to have used. So here we've got a map of London from 1873. This is nice and big. Hold that up there. And the reason that's included is he does tell you in his journal entry, as he's starting to turn into Hyde, he begins going out on the town and doing things that he would not normally have done as Dr. Jekyll. So I thought, well, maybe he needs a map to guide him into some of the areas of London that he might not normally enter as himself. So there's grid paper there. Some of that is Tim Holtz paper, I think that is. More of those eco-dyed papers. Yeah, this one talks about moral parallels. So it's I thought it was a very fitting book to use. This is something about camphorated oil, Smith Pharmacy. A little metal button that's just has the number 20. More of the paper images that fold out and write on the back side. There's a dictionary entry for ventricle of a heart. And all of the dictionary entries, I will tell you, they are the original pieces from the dictionary, original pages from the dictionary. And the dictionary is from the 1930s. So it's not a Victorian era dictionary, but I did use vintage dictionary pages in here. So there's another quote from the book. Okay, and then we have more of that paper. It has all kinds of different images on it. It's very neat. Some coffee dyed paper for writing on. I tried to include lots of papers for you to write on. They really are more useful, I think, than a bunch of tags and cards. So, and it's a man's journal, so he wouldn't have had all kinds of fancy, embellished, you know, tags and cards. So you'll see those in my more feminine journals. This one's more, you know, more realistic to what he might have had. And I tried to make sure that every book page that I used was from that time period. The only thing that isn't is, like I said, the dictionary pages are from a dictionary from the 30s. But they are still old. And other than that, all the other book pages are from books of that time period. Now, so we said that Hyde, as Jekyll's turning into Hyde more and more, and he goes out on the town, I thought, well, maybe he would have had something like this. And this is from the New Swells Guide. And the New Swells Guide was actually a guidebook during that time period. Oops, I put those in the wrong pocket. A guidebook from that time period that actually helped men find places to go in the evening for entertainment, and sometimes specifically female entertainment or female company. Yeah, so I included a few pages from that book. So this may not be your cup of tea, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It is kind of a dark book, a little bit. There's some quotes, a quote from the book there. This is not for everybody. And it is completely not my normal. You know, I normally do butterflies and nature and happy things. And this is definitely not that. So I know this is not going to be everybody's cup of tea. So there's a tag there for boric acid. Another specimen label. And another dictionary. This one's immoral and immorality and immodesty. Thought those were a bit fitting as we're starting to see Hyde come out more in the journal. And then here's the cover page out of that book of the Swells Night Guide. So yeah, it was interesting. This was about the only book I could find online that discussed that type of lifestyle. It seems that a lot of that was destroyed by family members that didn't want their loved one to be seen as being depraved. So not a lot of that type of paperwork exists anymore. This is a poem by Charles Baudelaire. I will admit that I was inspired to use his works from seeing Nick's journal. I know she included a few Charles Baudelaire poems. I don't think she even told us which ones she used, and she didn't read them. I didn't read mine either. They are very dark. He was an actual Victorian Gothic poet during that time period, and he wrote a lot of very dark poetry, most of which pertained to death. So I did put that in there. There are several Charles Baudelaire poems included in here towards the end of the journal here as we're getting into the darker side. And so if you don't like those, you can take those out. We have a blood-stained photograph. Any of the blood stains that you see in the book is ink. So no worries there. There's nothing gross or yucky, and nothing that is going to spoil or smell or whatever later on. It's all distress ink, the re-inkers in the bottle that you can use. So it's just ink. So as this journal is turning into the darker side, you're going to find newspaper pages of crimes that have happened, and they may not have been crimes that he committed, just things that maybe he thought were interesting, or because they were gory, he was entertained by it. We don't know. Sense of power, talks about that. So, you know, I would assume that he's getting a sense of power. These dictionary entries are for corrupt and corruption, corruptible. There's some surgical instruments. Another Charles Baudelaire poem. This one is actually called The Remorse of the Dead. Yeah, they are a little dark. You can take those out if you want to. This journal is 7 signatures of paper plus the organizer thingy that's in the front. 400 pages. There's another photograph. One of his victims. So, you know, we can see that he's keeping souvenirs now. And in the book, we know that Hyde was a very, very depraved character. He basically had no morals, no remorse for anything. There's another Charles Baudelaire poem. Some of them are quite long. This one's 3 pages long. And like I said, I picked a different font. This is not the same handwriting font as Dr. Jekyll. This is a picture of Dr. Carew, or not Dr. Carew, Mr. Carew, who in the book, Hyde kills Mr. Carew. So I chose him as that character. And, you know, he's keeping little souvenirs. Perhaps that's a suit, piece of his suit fabric. And now we've seen the full transition. Now, instead of signing it as Henry Jekyll or H.J., it is signed Edward Hyde, and Henry's initials have been crossed out. I really liked putting the eco-dyed paper in there because it just looks very sciencey to me, almost like something you would see under a microscope. Here's a train ticket. Perhaps, you know, he caught a train from Brighton to Victoria to do something not so nice. We have a woman's handkerchief and calling card. We have a specimen slide here. This is, like I said, there's no blood or anything in the book. This is ink, but I thought it made it look sort of like a cell, or who knows. I mean, it doesn't look like blood or anything because it's kind of orangey, but I thought that looks kind of cool. Very cool. So I put that in there. And I didn't put a label on it. You can put a label on there and say what you think it is. The Tim Holtz paper clips like these, they do leave these grungy spots on your page, which I actually like. Normally in my journals, I take a piece of paper and I rub that till I get it all nice and clean on the inside so it won't leave those marks. But I really like how it left marks on the pages. So it's little specimen slide things. We have another calling card. This one belongs to a man, Charles Thornburg. So, and then here's another one of those illustrated police news newspaper copies from a page from then. And this one's about a woman who was murdered. She and her lover were murdered in their bed. So, you know, maybe Hyde did it, or maybe he just thought it was cool. I don't know. I just thought, well, maybe he would have kept that. So like I said, this journal got very dark here at the end. That may not be your thing. It's really honestly not my thing, but I did have a little bit of fun creating this journal. It was neat to step out of my comfort zone. This is another Charles Baudelaire poem. This one is rather long. They are in their entirety. So it's 3 pages long. This one's actually called The Corpse. So I am not going to read them. I didn't read the poems on the other flip through video either. So you can easily take those out. We have another little skull and crossbones, specimen tag, little piece of fabric that's bloodstained. Maybe he kept that from a different victim. There's my shop label in the back, and then this is a hidden pocket here. I haven't put anything in it. Thought perhaps that you might want to put something of your own inside there to hide. So that is the journal. Real quick, here is the box. In the book, Jekyll asks his friend, Dr. Lanyon, well, they were friends and then they weren't friends, because Lanyon didn't agree with what Jekyll was doing. But he does write a letter to Lanyon and ask him to come and help him. It's when he's starting to turn to Hyde and is having difficulties turning back into Jekyll. And he does write a letter to Lanyon and ask him to bring the drawer from his room, from his lab. And so here's the letter. I do read it over in the other video, and you can check that out if you want a good story. And in the book, Lanyon tells us that in the drawer, that the drawer was marked E, and it had a lock on it. And so here is the key for drawer E. And he said that in the drawer were powders. So we have some powders here. And if you're really curious and you want to know, this is actually black embossing powder. So nothing toxic or anything. This is actually snowflake glitter stuff. And then he also said that there was a little packet, that he opened one of the packets and it had what looked like a salt-like substance or salt-like crystals. And so I have put in, there's some coarse ground sea salt there is what's actually in that, to spoil the surprise there. And then it said there was a little vial of a almost a blood-colored liquid. Now, I didn't want to put liquid in this and have it leak in your drawer, so that's actually red foil pushed down inside there to give it the appearance of a red liquid. So, and then he said that also in the drawer was a very simple paper book that had nothing besides a series of a couple hundred dates and then small notations next to it. And so he said really the book made no sense, and that the dates abruptly stopped about a year before Jekyll asked him for possible, and did exactly that and stopped the dates a year before he asked for help. Everything is dated in this journal and progresses accurately, or as accurately as it possibly can. Yeah, and everything else is also as historically accurate as I could make it. I placed a false bottom in the drawer, and that is not talked about in the book. But I thought it would be kind of fun to maybe give a story as to why Jekyll might have gone down this dark path, or was he scarred by something that had happened that made him start being not normal. So I put a false bottom in the drawer, and in it I included a letter, and basically it's a breakup letter from a girl that he was courting, and it's dated like 30 years before all of this happened, because in the book Dr. Jekyll is in his 50s, I think it says. So I figure maybe he had a romance when he was young, and she broke his heart, and because we know he's not married, and a woman is not, a love interest is not mentioned in the story. So maybe this is why he went through all that. So I included her photograph. This is actually a journaling card that Lisa made, and she sent it to me because she thought maybe I could use it, and it's perfect for this. So this is Emily. This is Dr. Jekyll's lost love. She broke his heart. And this is kind of a souvenir card that he kept with her picture on it, and a snippet from one of her dresses, and her calling card up here in the corner. And so he doesn't really want anybody to know about that. So it's hidden under the false bottom in the drawer. So we'll just pack all this back away. So like I said, I tried to make everything as realistic and accurate to the story as I could. And yeah, if you want to join me on the other video, I go through the whole thing. I read everything. Takes about an hour, but it was a fun adventure as we dive deep into the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So if you are interested in this journal and the drawer, I will make sure that I put the details below, and I will also make sure I put below when exactly this is going to be listed in my Etsy shop. I am shooting for Monday, which is tomorrow. So I think today is the 13th of October, or let me look. Nope, excuse me. I'm way behind. Today is the 18th of October. So I am shooting for tomorrow, Monday, October 19th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when I am hoping to have this listed in the Etsy shop. But whatever I put in the description box below, that will be when it's going to be listed for sure. Just a heads up, this one is going to be quite a bit pricier than my normal journals because it is ginormous, because it includes the drawer, because it's as historically accurate as possible, because of all the research that went into it. Yeah, so this one I can tell you right now is going to be quite a bit pricier than my normal journals. So thanks for joining me in this. Check out the other video. And let me know what you think about it. And yeah, I'm really excited to share it with you. This was a ton of fun, I can't wait to do another journal like this again that has a backstory. So yeah, let me know what you think. And I will speak to you all very, very, very soon. Take care. Love you all. Bye-bye.